The United States government is about to kill the penny, and when that's satisfying for the 5 pennies I'm about to show you, because these specific coins are already selling for $10,000, $20,000, even $40,000 at auction. And the craziest part? They look like junk. Beat up, scratched, pulled straight from a parking lot. But if you know what to look for, and I'm going to show you exactly what to look for, you could be sitting on a life-changing payday, hiding in your pocket change right now. These are the 5 pennies you need to save before it's too late. All right, let's start with a penny that could be hiding in any jar, any coin roll, any pocket in America right now. These are the pennies you should never ignore. And one of the most mysterious coins in American history is the 1974 Lincoln penny. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary 1-cent coin. The same portrait, the same copper color, the same design, millions of people have seen their entire lives. But hidden among those common pennies is a version that could be worth thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars. And the crazy part is that most people would never notice the difference. To understand why the 1974 Lincoln penny can be so valuable, we have to go back to the early 1970s. During this time, the price of copper was rising quickly. The government was worried that the metal inside a penny would soon be worth more than the coin itself. If that happened, people might start melting pennies just to sell the copper. So the United States Mint started experimenting with different metals to replace copper. One of those experiments created one of the rarest pennies ever made. In 1974, a small number of Lincoln pennies were accidentally struck on aluminum planchets instead of the traditional copper alloy. These coins were never meant to leave the mint. In fact, the government ordered that almost all of them be destroyed, but a few managed to escape, and that's where things get interesting. The 1974 aluminum Lincoln penny is one of the most mysterious coins in American coin collecting. Experts believe fewer than a dozen examples may still exist. Some collectors estimate that if one were legally sold today, it could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny, worth more than a house. Now, most 1974 pennies you find will be the normal copper version. Those are extremely common. But if you know what to look for, there are still valuable varieties hiding out there. First, let's talk about the famous aluminum version. A normal 1974 copper penny weighs about 3.1 grams. It has the familiar reddish-brown copper color and feels solid in your hand. But the aluminum version is completely different. It's extremely light and has a bright silver-gray appearance. Instead of weighing 3.1 grams, it weighs only about 0.93 grams. That means if you ever find a 1974 penny that looks silver instead of copper and feels unbelievably light, you should stop everything and get it checked by a professional coin expert, because that could be one of the rarest pennies ever produced. But that's not the only valuable 1974 penny. Another version collectors search for is the 1974 double die obverse. This error happened when the die used to strike the coin was created with a slight misalignment. The result is a doubling effect on certain parts of the design. If you look closely at the words "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or the date 1974, you might see the letters appearing slightly doubled. This kind of mint error can dramatically increase the value of the coin. Some 1974 doubled die pennies have sold for hundreds, even thousands of dollars depending on their condition. And that brings us to another important factor: condition. Even a common penny can become valuable if it is in exceptional condition. Collectors pay huge premiums for coins that still have their original shine and show very little wear. Now here's something most people don't realize. Millions of pennies sit forgotten in jars, drawers, and old coin collections. Many people never bother to check them closely. But coin collectors know that rare errors and experimental coins sometimes slip through unnoticed. That means valuable coins could still be hiding in everyday change. So if you ever come across a 1974 Lincoln penny, take a closer look. Check the color, check the weight. Look carefully at the letters and numbers, because that ordinary little coin might not be ordinary at all. It could be a rare mint experiment, a dramatic minting error, or a high-grade collector piece worth hundreds, thousands, or even more. And that's exactly why coin collectors always say the same thing: never ignore a penny, because sometimes the smallest coin in your pocket can hold the biggest surprise. And number two on this list is a penny almost nobody notices, the 1988 Lincoln penny. Now, most people see a 1988 penny and think it's completely ordinary. Billions of them were made. They show up in pocket change, coin jars, parking lots, and old piggy banks all the time. But hidden among those ordinary pennies is one tiny detail that can turn a 1 cent coin into something worth thousands of dollars. And the craziest part? You can see the mistake with your own eyes. Here's what happened. During the late 1980s, the United States Mint used different master dies to create the Lincoln penny design. But in 1988, something unusual happened inside the mint. A die from the next year's design was accidentally used to strike some of the 1988 pennies. That mistake created one of the most famous modern penny errors, the 1988 reverse of 1989 Lincoln cent. At first glance, everything looks normal. The front of the coin still shows Abraham Lincoln with the words, "In God we trust, liberty," and the date, 1988. But the secret is hiding on the back of the coin. Turn the penny over and look closely at the Lincoln Memorial. On a normal 1988 penny, the designer's initials FG, which stand for Frank Gasparo, are placed farther away from the base of the memorial. But on the rare 1988 reverse of 1989 error, those initials are positioned much closer to the building. That tiny change in design is the key. And that tiny difference can turn an ordinary penny into a rare collector coin worth thousands of dollars. Some examples of this error have sold for $2,000, $3,000, even more, depending on condition. And remember, this is not an ancient coin. It's not from the 1800s. It's a modern penny that many people still have sitting in their change jars today. Which means the hunt is still on. But there's one more detail collectors watch for: color. Over time, copper pennies can turn dark brown or even develop a greenish color because of oxidation. That's why some collectors call them green pennies. Most of the time, that green color just means the coin has aged. But sometimes collectors still discover rare varieties hiding among those old discolored pennies. So the next time you see a 1988 Lincoln penny, don't ignore it. Flip it over. Look closely at the FG initials near the Lincoln Memorial, because that tiny design detail might reveal one of the most surprising mint errors of the modern era. And that simple 1 cent coin could suddenly be worth thousands of dollars. And number three on this list is a penny that looks so strange, most people think it's just dirty or even damaged. But in reality, that unusual color could be hiding one of the most surprising mint errors of the modern era. We're talking about the 1982 Lincoln penny with a rare black error appearance. Now, 1982 was one of the most confusing years in the history of the Lincoln penny. That year, the United States Mint made a major change to the coin's metal. For decades, pennies were made mostly of copper. They were heavier, solid, and had that classic reddish-brown shine collectors love. But in 1982, the price of copper had become too expensive. The government decided to change the composition of the penny to a much cheaper metal, zinc, with only a thin layer of copper coating. During that transition, the mint produced multiple different versions of the 1982 penny. Large date, small date, copper coins, zinc coins, different mint marks. It created one of the most complicated penny years collectors have ever studied. But hidden among those coins are some extremely unusual error pieces, including pennies that appear dark black or almost charcoal colored. So why does that happen? In some cases, it's caused by a planchet error. Before a coin is struck, the blank metal disc, called a planchet, goes through several chemical cleaning steps. If something goes wrong during that process, the surface of the metal can react differently when the coin is struck. The result can be a penny that comes out looking much darker than normal, sometimes nearly black. To an average person, it might look like corrosion or dirt. But to a coin collector, that strange color could mean something much more interesting: a mint error. There are also cases where the copper plating on the newer zinc pennies reacts with chemicals or heat during the minting process. This can create unusual tones, deep dark colors, and even almost black surfaces that look completely different from normal pennies. And collectors love unusual mint errors. Some dramatic era coins from 1982 have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, especially if the error is clearly caused during the minting process and the coin is still in strong condition. But here's where things get really exciting, because 1982 also contains one of the rarest modern penny varieties ever discovered, the 1982D small date copper penny. That coin weighs 3.1 grams, while the zinc version weighs only 2.5 grams. If someone finds a 1982D penny with a small date design that still weighs 3.1 grams, they may be holding a coin worth thousands of dollars. And many of those coins were discovered years after they were released into circulation. That means there could still be more hiding out there today, in old jars, in coin rolls from the bank, in forgotten collections. So if you ever see a 1982 Lincoln penny that looks unusually dark or black, don't throw it away. Take a closer look. Check the date style, check the mint mark, and if you can, check the weight, because that strange looking penny might not just be old or dirty, it could be a rare mint error, or even one of the most valuable modern pennies still waiting to be discovered. And that's exactly why coin hunters always say one thing: never ignore a penny. Because the strangest coins often hide the biggest surprises. Strangest looking penny of them all. It's a coin that many people throw away the moment they see it because it looks old, damaged, and completely ruined. But sometimes that ugly green color could actually be hiding a valuable mint error. We're talking about the 1990 Lincoln penny with a rare green error appearance. At first glance, the 1990 penny seems completely ordinary. Billions of these coins were produced, and they still show up in everyday pocket change. Most people never even look at them, but coin collectors know something important. Even common coins can hide unusual minting mistakes, and some of those mistakes can turn an ordinary penny into something worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So why would a penny turn green? Copper coins naturally react with air, moisture, and chemicals over time. When that happens, the surface can develop a greenish layer known as oxidation or verdigris. Normally, that just means the coin has aged. But in rare situations, the color change can actually start during the minting process itself. If a plancher, the blank metal disc used to make the coin, is exposed to chemicals, moisture, or improper cleaning before the coin is struck, the metal surface can react in unusual ways. That reaction can create strange colors, including deep green patches or a full green surface. To most people, it looks like damage, but to experienced collectors, it might be something much more interesting: a plancher preparation error. And mint errors are exactly what collectors love. Some unusual color errors, chemical errors, and plancher errors have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, especially when the coin still has strong details and the color clearly came from the minting process. Another detail experts watch closely is the mint mark. In 1990, pennies were struck in different mints, including Philadelphia and Denver. Certain varieties and high-grade examples from these mints can be surprisingly valuable when found in near-perfect condition. A brilliant red 1990 penny with almost no wear can sell for far more than 1 cent in the collector market. But the real excitement comes when a coin shows something unusual: a strange color, an odd surface, or a possible mint error. Because those are the coins that collectors start talking about. And sometimes, those are the coins that end up selling for serious money. So the next time you see a 1990 Lincoln penny that looks green, don't automatically assume it's worthless. Take a closer look. Examine the surface. Look for unusual patterns in the color. Because that strange green penny sitting in your coin jar might not just be old. It could be a rare mint error hiding in plain sight. And that's exactly why coin hunters check every single penny they find, because sometimes the coins that look the worst turn out to be the most interesting of all.